For more, let's bring in DW's political correspondent Simon Young to break down what exactly has been said here. So, I mean, jail does not it does not appear to have dampened his spirit. I mean, a pretty defiant message that he's issued there. Where does he go from here, Simon?
First of all, nowhere, because he has been told that he has to stay in Germany and near enough to the court that he can present himself there if the court wants to speak to him, because, of course, the extradition proceedings are still continuing. As you mentioned, they've thrown out the idea that he could be extradited to Spain on rebellion. They say there is no equivalent potential charge under German law, but the lesser question of the misuse of public funds in order to finance that controversial referendum on Catalonian independence last year, that charge remains and is equivalent to something under German law. So they're going to be looking at that. It could take a few days even to bring that into the court. And the extradition has to happen within 60 days. But there's a long way for Mr. Puigdemont to go. He could still appeal if he is told that he has to go to Spain. He could appeal up to the German Constitutional Court and even to the European Court. So there's some way for this thing to run yet. OK,
so extradition's still on the table, apparently. He has to stay in Germany. Do we know where in Germany he will be?
We don't know that yet. He was due to hold a press conference later today, but Mr. Puigdemont's spokesman says that he's now cancelled that. So we don't know when the details of that will emerge. But I imagine he'll have to stay, as I said, somewhere where he can report to police and make himself available for this court right in the north of Germany.
Where does all of this leave Germany in terms of its relations with Spain, who really wants him back?
That's right. Well, Germany, Berlin, has been a little bit troubled by this whole proceedings. So far, over the months of this story with Carlos Puigdemont, Berlin has tended to back the Madrid line and say that, Spain's procedures must be followed, Spain's judicial process must be followed. And today, the government spokeswoman was saying, well, this has never been a matter for the government at all. It's a purely legal question, and they're sort of keeping their distance from it. I think they're a bit relieved in the sense that they've cleared up one point for Mr. Puigdemont, at least in the short term. He can't be tried in Spain for rebellion, and that is the really troubling one for him, because that is a charge that could have put him behind bars in Spain, if convicted, for decades, actually.
OK, so a bit of a victory then for him, at least in that
Absolutely.
regard. We know that the independence referendum that he spearheaded, that it really polarized Catalonia. You saw some of those deep rifts coming out in the region. Do we know how Catalans are reacting to this ruling now, today?
Well, I've seen a little bit of reaction on the web, with people saying, they were surprised, frankly, by this ruling by the court. And I think that's true of a lot of people in Germany as well. They weren't expecting quite as clear-cut a case and relatively quickly. But obviously it's been welcomed by Mr. Puigdemont's supporters. The Madrid government obviously sees it rather differently. They said, well, they respect and accept this decision by the German court. But the Justice Minister also said, some decisions by courts we prefer more than others. So I think you can tell which kind this is.
Simon Young, our political correspondent. Thank you.